Hello everyone, it's Ashwin Rao. In today's video, I'm bringing you this mystery box which houses one of the world's most unique pieces of footwear from one of the world's most heralded, yet somewhat mysterious and hard to track down bootmakers. And some brands, including this one, have been essentially unobtainable to me, either because they were manufactured in small batches by makers who are hard to track down or only release in short bursts, or because they were made by makers who I appreciated from afar, but wasn't necessarily ready to invest in, even though I saw a high level of craftsmanship, and this brand represents such a brand. I was very, very impressed and uniquely drawn to WB Beigjing. So this is a pair of side zip boots. Now I got this pair used, but basically not worn, and I have recreated the unboxing experience, but I am not entirely sure if this is the original packaging that came with these shoes. The person who packaged them for me, the last owner, did a really nice job, and I'm pretty sure, just based on the way the boxing came with the box within a box, really well molded, that this was likely the original packaging. So we're going to do the unboxing, and you're going to see a beautiful pair of side zip boots in a Merriam asphalt horse butt leather. Let's do this thing. Look at that, bubble wrap. So I'm gonna move this bubble wrap out of here. And what we have here is two plastic shoe bags. Never seen that before, so I'm not sure if that's something that WB Beigjing did or the previous owner did. I'm gonna have to ask him, but you know, they protect the shoes. And what we have here is a tremendous pair of WB Beigjing side zip boots. These are hand welted, hand lasted, hand stitch outsoles, pretty much everything done by hand at a very high level by a maker that really was coming to this market from the dress shoe world and has since embraced the rugged footwear and heritage styles through their WM Boots Lab venture that I believe was fostered and supported by some of the Chinese and Canadian Chinese and Chinese American footwear enthusiasts in our community, Bootgazer being one of them, bringing brands such as this into popularity, as well as convincing brands in China that were high quality manufacturers to dive into the heritage wear makeup, using their near bespoke level of fit and finishing to craft very unique and beautiful pieces of footwear. So let's remove this other box and we're going to take a deeper dive into this pair of shoes. So here we have our pair of side zip boots in Merriam Asphalto horsebutt, a very beautiful horsebutt leather that has a soft handle, a slight bit of pull-up, and this unique pigment property. It just kind of has this unique coloration, variation of color. It's not really grain, but it is reminiscent of horse butt or horse hide grains. I find it really, really beautiful. And one thing I love is that WB Beigjing has taken great care to create beautiful clicking. So I'm really looking forward to taking this pair through its journey. You can see that this is about a 6-inch height shaft. Has a beautiful second panel here that is a style that I don't see often in side zips, but you do see it occasion to occasion and time to time, this separate piece of leather here. Here we see the side zip with a branding that I don't know style zipper right here. And you can side zip this bad boy down like that and zip it back up. And that's it. You get your foot in, zip it up, and you're on your way. Now, there's some really unique things that I should take you through. As you can see, this shoe has really not been worn. This is a unique style I've never seen before, where they use a slab of leather here that almost acts as a toppy. I have not seen that, where a leather that might have been used for an upper, a thicker, or a oak bark tanned leather used as almost a toppy style with the WB Beigjing toe plate that you can see really nicely done with this serrated or V-shaped pattern screwed in and really cleanly placed. You can see that this toppy, this leather toppy basically covers a stitching. And then this heel block, which is a Vibram rubber heel block, has this very unique curved profile. You don't often see that work done or finished to curve the edges of the inset of the heel block right here and right here. And look at this transition here done to create this curve, and yet this upper piece of leather, this midsole here, continues its sharp line while this heel block starts to curve underneath. It's just a beautiful transition there that you don't get to see very often. See that there's actually 2 rows of very high density stitching created here to form this flat welt. So it's like a double row flat welt. This isn't your stitch down construction where the leather is folded out and stitched down. This is a double row flat welt here that then transitions to a single row along the waist right here. If we take this onto the other side, same thing, you see that double row, reminiscent of some vintage American heritage styles where you see a clean double row of stitches translating to a single row at the waist. The stitching here is not blind, but it's fairly deeply recessed. You can see this clean double row of stitches done, very tightly placed together. That takes a fair bit of craftsmanship to create such a narrowly spaced double row stitch along this zipper pattern here. And then we can see along this second panel here, a double row of stitch here and then a single row here. So you see a single row transitioning to a double row where this leather is directly affixed to this panel here, but then it tucks under this panel here because you can see the edge of that leather here. So kind of a really cool detailed look. Speaking of cool details, this is a totally unique last. I've never seen a last quite like this that has such a flat toe profile, has this unique kind of ridge that creates almost a lip a la the Viberg 301 last or some of the creosote last, but done in almost a dressier lower toe profile that's squaring off ends about here and then fades away. So a very unique toe structure. And this toe box has almost a rounded square look to it. It reminds me of some engineer boots in terms of its profile. It has this kind of rounding, but then this more squared off profile and a slight asymmetry to it that's very, very unique. You have a fully lined inner here, a half leather sole, and we talked about this having a welt followed by a midsole, and then this leather toppy piece that I had not seen before, and a multi-layered, evenly spaced leather heel stack. There's 4 stacks of leather, 4 pieces of leather forming this heel stack before we get to this rubber toppy. Everything about this shoe is precise, clean, and very intentional. That's sort of the best way I can describe this boot, is while it has that heritage playfulness or whatever you want to call that heritage style, it's got a little bit more joie de vivre. And I'm very excited to continue to put this one through its paces. It turns out that this one does fit me quite well. The previous owner was told that this would be his size, and he's a 10.5 to 11, and it has some variations in his heel to ball and heel to toe length. And in me, I'm a pretty standard 10D, and he thought that this pair would fit me well because a few other pairs that we've exchanged over the years worked well for me and maybe were either a little too small for him or whatnot. And so he said, hey, you have a slightly smaller foot than I actually have based on my previous experience buying from you. Maybe this pair would work. WM Beijing makeups are quite pricey. Typically over $1,000 is what you're going to invest, sometimes more depending on the materials and the model. But I was able to get this for a fraction of that price, essentially unworn. I was initially worried that maybe this shoe would have a little bit of a tight instep based on the shape here, but it works out okay for me in dress shocks. It doesn't feel too tight, but it is snug. So I think for those of you who have a very high instep, this style might not work for you. But those of you who have a lower volume or medium instep foot or lower, this will work just fine. And if you have a medium to higher instep, kind of in that mid-high range, it'll work, but probably with dress socks. So just keep that in mind depending on what type of foot you have. Back heel stay as a single leather strip with a double row going all the way up here to the top. There's no pull tab or anything like that on this shoe. It's a very clean profile that to some degree reminds me of a fancier version of the Rolling Dub Trio Casper boot, which is a side zip that doesn't have this extra panel, but it kind of reminds me of that. That one has a slightly different, more rounded off bulbous sprung toe last. This one doesn't really have a ton of toe spring. It has a little bit. You can see that upturning right there. It really straddles that fine line between dress footwear and rugged classic menswear with a very, very clean profile. One that's hard to, reproduce because you can see the quality and the kind of detailing that's gone into this. The extremely high stitch density on that flat welt that is reminiscent and recalls the work of many bespoke footwear manufacturers. This clean double row stitching that's very evenly done. The shape of this last with its organic curves, the rolls that are formed that suggest that this is very well clicked. You can see some starting wear in these areas. And just this beautiful horsebutt leather, which has this nice slight bit of pliance and stretchability to it. And it's going to be a really unique pair that will dress up and dress down in spades, in my opinion. So have a good one. Take care and bye-bye.